chapter 22, if you have your Bibles. If not, we're going to have the words on the screen. This is a well-known passage. I'm sure we've spoken on this here many times before, but I wanted to revisit it today for a specific reason. And this is an interaction that happens between Abraham and God. And God requests something of Abraham that is quite extraordinary. And it goes like this. It says, sometime later, God tested Abraham. God tested Abraham. And God said to him, take your son, your only son whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you. Early next morning, Abraham got up, loaded his donkey. He took with him 2 of his servants and his son Isaac. And when he had cut enough wood for the burnt offering, he set out for the place God had told him about. On the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. He said to his servants, stay here with the donkey while I and the boy go over there. We will worship and then we will come back to you. Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac, and he himself carried the fire and the knife, and the 2 of them went on together. Isaac spoke up and said to his father, Father, yes, my son, Abraham replied. The fire and the wood are here, Isaac said, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? Abraham answered, God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son. And the 2 of them went on together. When they reached the place God had told him about, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood on it. He bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Then he reached out his hand and he took the knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven, Abraham, Abraham. Here I am, he replied. Do not lay a hand on the boy, he said. Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son. Abraham looked up, and there in the thicket he saw a ram caught by its horns. He went over. He took the ram. He sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of a son. So Abraham called that place, the Lord will provide. The Lord will provide. And to this day it is said, on the mountain of the Lord it will be provided. The Lord will provide. On the mountain of the Lord it will be provided. God can only be to you what you go through. God can only ever be to you what you go through. If you're sick and he heals you, then he becomes your healer. You will refer to him as your healer. You will testify of, I was sick, I had this wrong with me, but God healed me. And in that moment, he becomes to you what you go through, because you went through sickness and he healed you. He becomes your healer. If you were in some way bound by something and he delivers you from what you were bound in, then he becomes your deliverer. If you were enslaved and he redeems you, then he becomes your redeemer. If you were faced with a hopeless situation and in that moment you saw him as the God of hope and he became your hope, then he becomes hope in a hopeless situation. So whatever it is that you're going through and he moves in that situation, then he becomes to you what he is to you in that which you go through. Am I making sense? Some of you, I am. If someone does something for you, if someone does something to you, then you mark that as the person who did whatever, who helped in whatever situation. They become something specific, dependent upon a specific situation and circumstance. A couple of weeks ago, we had Natasha up here who she's going to be taking over Kids Life upstairs. And she's going to be overseeing Kids Life. And one of the things that she said, she talked about her and her husband Darren and their history in this church. And one of the things she said was that I married them. So in that moment, I became the pastor who married them. In that moment of what we went through together, they refer to me as that's the guy who married us because of what we went through on that day with their wedding day. Now, not everybody in this place can refer to me as the one who married them. But because of that circumstance and situation, she marks me as the one who married her and her husband. And so with God, he becomes to you what it is that you go through and who he is in that moment. So who is God to you? Who is God to you? Because God is a very personal God. He's personal to you, to your life, and to your circumstances. Even if you don't know him, maybe you're in this place and maybe your answer is, I don't really know God. I'm not sure if God actually exists. Maybe you're in this place and you're absolutely certain that God doesn't exist. I don't know. But God wants to be personal to you. A couple of weeks ago, we began to look at this subject of names of God and what those names mean. And what we looked at a couple of weeks ago was God introduces himself right at the very beginning of the Bible. In Genesis, it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That word God is actually the word Elohim. We looked at this a couple of weeks ago because God has so many different names throughout the Bible that either he gives to himself or that others give to him dependent upon the circumstances. But God gives himself the name Elohim, the God of creation, the one who creates. He is the creator God. So it says in the beginning, Elohim, creator God, created the heavens and the earth. That's who he is. He is a creator. He made us. He created us. He formed us. He shaped us. He fashioned us. We are made in the image of God. It tells us in Genesis, when we look at this, and God says, let us make man in our image. And it goes on, it says, so God made them male and female in the image of God. No other part of creation can say this, that they are made in the image of God, apart from mankind, apart from humans, apart from us. We're the only ones that can say we are made in the image of God. He breathed life into us, shaped us, fashioned us, and made us, put his fingerprint on us, put his design on us, so we can say I'm made in the image of God, made in his image. And he introduces himself, gives himself the name Elohim. But there are other occasions in the Bible where people give God a name dependent upon the circumstance and situation that they go through. And God becomes something specific to them in that moment. And this is what's happening here with Abraham. Abraham's story is quite remarkable. Abraham is just a normal guy, just a normal man. He's married to a woman named Sarah. And God calls Abraham, God comes to Abraham and gives Abraham a directive. Abraham, I want you to leave this place that you call home, but I want you to go to a land that I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you something here, Abraham. I'm going to take you on a journey. It's going to be a wild journey, Abraham, but I'm going to go with you. I'm going to be with you. I'm going to lead the way. I'm going to guide you, and I'm going to direct you, Abraham, and we're going to do this together. But I want you to leave this place that you're comfortable with, this place that you call home, and I want you to go to a place that you've never seen before. But it's a land that I'm going to give to you, Abraham. It's something that I'm going to set you up, Abraham, and I'm going to make your descendants like the stars, as numerous as the stars in the sky, and as numerous as the sand in the desert, because there's a nation inside you, Abraham, and I'm going to birth a nation from you. And the land that I'm taking you to is going to be the land for your descendants and for the nation that I birth through you, Abraham. And so Abraham leaves his home and he goes on this journey, and God takes him on this journey. But the problem is, God's promise to Abraham is that, Abraham, you're going to have so many descendants. It's going to be a nation that is birthed through you, Abraham. But Abraham and Sarah don't have any children. And this goes on for years. And Abraham would think, but God, you promised. You made me this promise. I've left home. I've come here to this foreign land. I've been traveling about. I've been in danger, and you made this promise, and yet nothing's happening. And so Abraham and Sarah, they have a discussion, and they take it upon themselves to help God out. And this is where Abraham fails, because Abraham takes for himself another woman, and another son is born to Abraham by the name of Ishmael. And Abraham failed in that moment. But life goes on. And Abraham and Sarah's life goes on. But God's promises never fail. God's promises to us, they never fail. And God made a declaration, made a covenant with Abraham that I'm going to birth a nation out of you. That your descendants are going to be like the stars in the sky and like the sand in the desert. And that wasn't just a promise that God gave to Abraham. God cut covenant with Abraham to make this declaration saying, this is just your thing, Abraham. And Abraham messed up and failed. Years go by after Ishmael. Abraham and Sarah are now old. All I hear this morning is women complaining about how hot they are. Johnny, see, yes, menopause, it's killing me. It's too hot in here. I'm like, I know, girls, I know, I'm with you. And Abraham and Sarah were way beyond, menopause. They were past that stage. Sarah was well past that stage. Coming to a place where it was impossible to bear children. It was absolutely impossible for Sarah to bear children. She was too old. But yet God comes back and reaffirms the promise to Abraham and to Sarah. You remember that promise that I gave to you? Abraham, it's going to happen. Sarah actually laughs. She overhears the conversation. And Sarah actually laughs because you're like, oh, I dead on. Not a chance. But it happens. And Sarah gets pregnant. She gives birth to a son. They call him Isaac. This is the one that we read about, that Abraham is told by God, I want you to sacrifice him. What a request. This son of promise, this miracle baby, this miracle child that was born to Abraham and Sarah, now grown up, and we'll look at this in just a second, but God asks him, requests of him, I want you to sacrifice him to me. I'm going to take you to a mountain, and I'm going to show you where this is all to take place. What a request from God. Abraham, take your son, your only son, Isaac. Take him to the place that I'm going to show you, to a mountain that I'm going to show you, and sacrifice him there. This is essentially a test of faith. This is a test of Abraham's faith. Abraham had failed before with Hagar. There is a test of his faith. Testing shows growth and development. You remember in school, you had to do exams at the end of the year. Or whenever you come to do your GCSEs, and you couldn't go on and do your A-levels unless you passed your GCSEs. You couldn't go to college or to university unless you passed your A-levels. And so testing is a part of life. And it proves that you're ready for the next stage. It proves that you're ready for promotion, to step up. Your goal is simply to pass the test. And so this is a test of Abraham's faith. Will he pass the test? It's also a test of putting the one who has blessed you above that which he has blessed you with. Isaac was a blessing from God. And God is in many ways testing Abraham and saying, Abraham, will you put me first? Will you trust me with what I have blessed you with? Will you trust me, Abraham? And Abraham has this choice between the blessing and the one who has blessed him. And as we have read through that story, Abraham had learned a thing or two through his journey with God. Abraham had learned through his failures. We got no problem in this place with people who fail. Absolutely no problem whatsoever, because we all fail. But I think we do have a problem whenever we stay down after our failures, that we want people to get up and to have the right response to the failure. Every single person in this place will have failed at one point or another. But how will we respond to the failure? And Abraham then responds in the right way because he's learned a thing or two from his failure before. And he knows, I can trust God. I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen here, but I know that I can trust God. He has blessed me with Isaac. In Hebrews chapter 11, when it has the hall of faith, it actually says that Abraham thought that God would raise him from the dead. So Abraham is actually going to this thinking in his mind that he is actually going to have to put Isaac to death. This is crazy. This is a crazy story. This is the Bible for you. It's filled with crazy stories. And so Abraham gathers everything together. He trusts God. He believes God. And he goes to sacrifice his son Isaac. Isaac is not a baby. Isaac is not a child. Josephus is an old ancient Jewish historian around about the time of Jesus or just after. And Josephus actually believes that Isaac could have been as old as 25 years of age. This is how old Isaac has a say in the matter. Isaac is walking with Abraham, his father. He's able to ask him questions, to have a conversation with him. The wood for the altar is placed on Isaac. He carries it up the mountain to the place where the sacrifice is to take place. This suggests that Isaac was old enough, big enough, strong enough, not only to carry the wood for the altar, but to resist what was going to happen. Yet Isaac allowed himself to be bound and to be placed on the altar. I read a quote during the week that says, I can't remember who this is from, but it says, if Abraham displays faith that obeys, then Isaac displays faith that cooperates. And Isaac was willing to allow himself to be the sacrifice. He could have, because if you imagine how old Abraham was whenever Isaac was born, and he's so much older, Abraham couldn't have done this by himself. He needed cooperation from Isaac, and Isaac was willing to allow himself to be sacrificed. In Romans, it tells us to offer our bodies as a living sacrifice. This is what we are called to as Christians. We don't have time to go in this, so we could go off and we could talk about this, but I don't want to talk about that at the minute. But as Christians, we are called to be living sacrifices, holy and pleasing and acceptable to God. And in this story, there are so many comparisons to be made between what is happening here in this story and what will take place in the exact same spot thousands of years later with a man called Jesus, the only begotten Son of God. We're told that it was a 3-day journey, and it was when what we're told is on the third day. On the third day, this was to happen. The third day, Jesus rose again from the dead. Abraham is requested, take your son, Abraham, your only son, the one whom you love. A reference to Jesus, the only begotten Son of God. Abraham had a willingness to sacrifice his son. God had a willingness to send his son to be sacrificed and nailed to a cross for every single one of us. Isaac had a willingness as a son to allow himself to be sacrificed. He carried the wood on his back. Everything compares to what Jesus did for us. As the only begotten Son of Jesus, he carried the cross on his back for us. The huge difference between the story of Abraham and of Jesus is that as Abraham is willing and he raises that knife to slay his son, that Abraham has stopped. And God says, no, it's okay. It's okay, Abraham. Just let it go. Let it go. I know You've proved yourself, Abraham. You trust me. You've gone far enough. It's okay, Abraham. But with God, that doesn't happen. God goes all the way in sending his son, Jesus. Jesus, God in the flesh, willingly comes to be sacrificed for us, and he goes through with that sacrifice. But as I come to a close, I want to conclude by focusing on one statement made by Abraham in response to a question by Isaac. Because as they're walking up, Isaac begins to talk to his father. And Isaac says, right, okay, we've got the fire, we've got the knife, I'm carrying the wood, but there's no sacrifice. We're going to sacrifice, and where is it? We're told in that moment that Abraham responds with, the Lord will provide a lamb. The Lord himself will provide a lamb. But it's not quite accurate in that interpretation and in that translation, because a proper translation would actually be, the Lord will provide himself a lamb. The Lord will provide himself as a lamb. I don't know if Abraham, I don't think that he did, but Abraham in that moment was actually being prophetic about what was to happen thousands of years later. On the exact same mountain, on the exact same spot. And Abraham's response is, the Lord will provide himself. The Lord will give of himself. This slight change in wording and translation actually changes everything, and it becomes so prophetic in what is to happen through Jesus. See, God provides himself. God gives himself. And in that moment where Abraham's hand is stayed, and he looks around and there's a ram caught in the thicket, he changes the name of that place to the Lord provides, to Jehovah Jireh, the God of provision, the God who provides. And I know that we love how that we talk about how that God provides for us, how that he gives, how that he, whenever we're in need, that he's there for us. Whenever we need an answer, then he provides an answer, I know. But the greatest thing of all is that God has provided himself for every single one of us. He has given of himself. In John chapter 3 and verse 16, the greatest verse in the Bible, kind of sums up the whole story of the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. For God so loved the world that he gave of himself his only Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. He has given of himself. He is referred to as Emmanuel, another name that is given to him, meaning God with us. In John chapter 1, we're told the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, came to live with us. Everything about the story of the Bible, about God, about this personal God, is about him coming to us. About him chasing us, pursuing us, trying to grab hold of us, because he wants a relationship with us. He is a personal God, church. Personal. He wants a personal, deep, intimate relationship with you. And you can know this God that we speak of in the Bible, Elohim, as he refers to himself in Genesis chapter 1, Jehovah Jireh, the God of provision that Abraham gives him the name of. In chapter 46 of Psalms, we're told that he is an ever-present help in time of need. That's provision in the giving of himself. The Lord will provide himself a lamb. And whenever you understand this, whenever you get this revelation of this personal God, of him giving of himself and providing himself, then everything about God becomes personal, and everything about this Bible becomes personal to you. Everything that is ever written, you get this revelation that it's for me as an individual. It's for you as a person. For God so loved me that he gave, that he provided his only Son. He is Emmanuel, God with me. It all becomes personal. He is my ever-present help in time of need. He is my Lord, my Savior. He is my shepherd. He is my deliverer. He is my friend. On that same mountain that Abraham took Isaac to, on that same place, Jesus was sacrificed there for us to restore a way of relationship with God the Father, to provide a way to eternity with Him in heaven. And God offers Himself to every single one of us today. The question really is, what will we do with this God? What will we do with this offer? He is Jehovah Jireh, the God of provision, the one who provides Himself, who offers Himself as a sacrifice for us, who offers Himself and says, I want to know you, and I want you to know me. And then there has to be a response. What do we do with that offer of provision? That amazing offer of friendship. So many people in this place have already accepted that offer. And I can tell you now, it has changed every single one of them for the better. Knowing this Jesus, knowing this God, they can all testify. I was in darkness, but now I am in light. I was a mess, but now God's putting me together again. I was once this, but because of God, I am this. We can all testify to that relationship and that friendship with Jehovah Jireh, with Elohim. Let's pray.